I don't know. Let me know when you're ready. And I will go live.
Okay, congratulations on making the finals of the Scratch Classic this year.
Hello, everyone. Savage Bowling TV here for the Indiana Scratch Classic here at Mike Aulby's Arrowhead Bowl. Scott Gilmore, and joining me for today's broadcast is the Indiana legend, icon, and PBA Hall of Famer, Mr. Mike Aulby. Boy, that's a
Too
lot.
many adjectives there.
That's a lot to
Holy
say there,
smokes.
right? We're just minutes from going live with the finals for the Indiana Scratch Classic. We're down to, I believe, 35 players. 31 will start the first round. We do have 4 byes for the top 4 qualifiers from the 4 qualifying squads on Saturday and the one Sunday morning. And, Mike, we're back here again after 1 year, and it looks like the left side and a familiar name is leading the pace here at this event.
Yeah, they are, and they're relaxed right over here to the left of us, taking it easy, watching everybody knock each other out here a little bit. But, yeah, Gene Perez is back, and Matt Sanders, I mean, just the top 2 talent. But there's some other guys out there. We got the best talent in the state here today.
All right, we're going to play the national anthem. We'll be back here right after this short timeout, but you can go to youtube.com/Savage Bowling TV to watch the live stream. All right, practice just underway now for the finals of the 2019 Indiana Scratch Classic. Once again, Scott Gilmore joining me in the broadcast, Mike Aulby. And, Mike, your facility looks fantastic as always.
Well, thank you. I mean, we've got a great staff. I mean, between Scott Devers and Rue Harrington, our mechanic in the back, I mean, you guys do a great job, and they love to be here, and it shows.
Well, and I'm sure you take great pride when you do come back. You're not here as often as maybe you'd like to be, but when you do, it's kind of nice to see.
Oh, it's very nice. No, it's in good hands, and you know, to have the prestigious tournament we have here today, it's a good day to be here.
Now, some big changes in store for your center. Tell us a little bit about the things you're about to do.
We hope to. I mean, it's a little premature. We hope to. You know, we've got plans, and we've been waiting a while to get our plans set up. But, you know, we're looking to hopefully add a couple of other attractions, whether it's laser tag and esports, you know, things like that. So we're looking to expand into those areas. And we're close. We're not there yet, but hopefully we'll have something to say here in another 30, 60 days.
Well, I know, speaking of esports, a lot of the youth, not only in the youth bowling, but also high school and so forth, are a little concerned about the growth of this esport brigade, you want to say, is about the kids being able to actually get scholarships to play
isn't it? Yeah,
video
it's phenomenal.
games.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. If you see it, and it's really taken off. I know down in Indy, you know, Butler University just added, they're expanding theirs to 7,500 square feet, and they're going to do all these things. And, of course, you know, you look at the NBA. I mean, the Pacers have their own team, you know, that plays in the NBA, you know, esports league.
Yeah, it's well. A friend of mine, his son goes to Trine University, which is just north of Auburn here in Indiana, and they have an esports team. And he said the room that these kids play in is just unbelievable. The big recliners and big screen TVs, and it's something else. And they travel all over the place.
And that's one of those things, you think about 20 years ago, you wouldn't think, I bet in the future you're going to see this. Yeah, I don't think that was on anybody's radar screen.
Yeah, absolutely. It has saved my 12-year-old right now. Now he has something to look forward to.
Well, I know on tour, we could have all been on the Nintendo sports team, I think, back in the 80s. So we were all pretty good at that.
Well, everybody, my Wii bowling was just as good as my actual bowling, I think it was.
Yeah.
So. But anyway, we should see some really quality bowling here. We've scoring at the top of the charts. We're a little bit higher than previous years. But as you mentioned in the opening here, that Gene Perez is going to be a guy to look out for, as well as Matt Sanders. But on the right side, those are both left-handers. On the right side, Jimmy Cook from Indianapolis bowled awful well. And I believe Chris Seyfarth from Indianapolis bowled well, too. So I think we're going to see some different styles and some different lane plays come into play here as we proceed through the qualifying.
Yeah, and as you know, it's always difficult switching pairs too. So you just, it's all going to depend how quickly they're able to adjust to some of these different pairs. So, but the talent is out there to do that. So, and they've already showed they can shoot the high scores today.
Well, and we're going to bowl 2 games, and then they'll cut half the scores. So the top half of this round will survive on to round 2. Then we'll throw in the top 4 squad leaders that received a bye, and then we'll work all our way down to the final 4 on our TV pair, and they'll bowl 2 more games, and then the high score from that will be determined our champion. And Gene Perez from Indianapolis is the defending champion. And as I mentioned to you earlier this morning, that in 2017, Gene came awful close to winning that event. TJ Schmidt bowled extremely well to beat him, had to shoot 500 to do that. Gene could be looking for his 3rd straight Scratch Classic championship here.
Well, and he looks so calm and cool, and he gets out there and plays the lanes the way he feels comfortable playing them, which anytime you can do that, when you're comfortable when being able to use your A game, it's so much better because some of these guys are having to adapt differently, and they're using maybe their 2nd or 3rd choice of either equipment, hand release, or what. It's tough to beat a guy when he's able to play his A game. But when you get to a field like this where you talk about, half the field goes, you just don't know.
Well, and right now we're looking at 11, 12, 13, and 14 as our main 2. On those pairs are Gary Clark, Vu Dong, Trent Jarvis, Jeremiah Blankman, Cameron Bollinger, Chris Cundiff, Jimmy Cook, Dylan Holford are the participants on 11 through 14, so we'll be focusing on them as well. And then as we move down to 19, 20, 21, 22, those participants are Steve Spence, Josh Myers, Quentin Cragg, Jared Massey, Jeff Grego, Mark Sullivan, Alistair Rutledge will be your competitors on that lane. So some good players there. Some of them that come to mind quickly, Mark Sullivan, a quality player, now a senior.
Yeah, Mark and I go way back to the youth league. So, Mark has always been a strong player, and, I think he's actually better now. I think he's matured, obviously, the middle part. He knows what it takes. So, Mark's always a contender nowadays, and he's given the seniors some fits too now.
Well, and he is knocking on the door of a championship on the PBA 50 Tour.
Most definitely. He looks very comfortable, and like I said, he's worked for bowling companies for quite some time, so he's learned more and more knowledge all the time. So, if you ever think you've got too much, you've figured it out, you don't. So It's always good that you can continue to learn. That's one thing Mark's been able to do is continue to learn.
Well, and it takes, as he's learning on the 50 Tour, you can get to a certain point, but boy, to get on that TV show every week, the level of play, as good as these guys are, it's tough.
Yeah, it's like watching the 80s again, and and then Mark was telling me this morning, he says, it's funny, you should go out and try the 50 Tour. Yeah, well, the same guys that were kicking your butt back in the 80s are still out there kicking your butt now. So,
right.
So it is a very competitive tour for sure.
Guys to look for, though, on our TV pairs that bowled real well in qualifying were Jimmy Cook. Chris Cundiff bowled real well, too, as well. And then another guy to keep an eye on will be Jeff Grego from Fort Wayne. Jeff was consistently solid throughout his qualifying block. His low game, I believe, was 2-0, but he shot a couple of big games in there, a couple of 250s. So Grego is going to be a guy to, I believe he was 96 over, somewhere around there for his qualifying score. So he's going to be a guy I think you're going to see maybe make a deep run here into this event.
Well, I think, consistency is great, but you're going to need to be able to pop the big games, and when you're down to the guys that can do that today. So, you're not going to be able to get by with those 2 O's or 2 teens. You're going to be able to pop the big ones.
Yeah, boy, you start out with a 250 game or 40 game, and it definitely loosens the arm swing.
Yeah.
I always felt like when I bowled in this event, I wanted to be somewhere around 420 early, but then I knew as the day went, those scores were going to have to go up because when you start funneling the good players that have been bowling good all day, the 420 is not going to make it.
You can't afford a 180 game and put yourself that far behind, or even a 190 game, I don't think, because I think there's just too many strong players that already have a good idea of what they're going to do today.
And most guys that you watched played either the left-handers that bowled really well played way out with your thing. The guys right-handed, you saw guys playing all over the place. Do you think, Mike, that at some point in time that's going to be maybe a detriment to their success here, is when you start crossing lines and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, if you get too many people playing inside where you're playing, then you're going to lose that spot, and you're going to have to either go in where they're at or increase your speed, and then you're getting away from your A game or the game that you have the most confidence in. So, and when you do that, you also are not as clean at the bottom of your swing and as smooth, so your pin carry goes away. So, yeah, it could definitely happen for sure. There's quite a few lefties out there, so there's probably more than your norm, and that'll increase the play on that side, which some of them may not be able to adjust to quick enough.
I think, there's always been that left and right debate. That's never going to go away.
Right. Yeah.
Just because of pure numbers of left-handers to right-handers. Now, it always seemed like to me, when the left-handers had really good success, most all left-handers play in the same area, correct?
Yeah, correct.
The right-handers, it's not that way. So
everybody, because you've got a variety of ways guys throw it. Either it's hard and straighter, or you have somebody that's going to get inside them and try to loop it and bring it back. So, and especially with the equipment today, it's going to move the oil a lot more than it used to. So, once the guys who may be playing hard and straight have something to look at early, those guys in the middle are going to be burning up the oil and stuff inside of them. Then when the guy that's going straight is not going to be able to get inside of them and try to loop it like they do. So those are challenges from game to game and set to set, and sometimes shot to shot even.
Right. All right, practice now has concluded, and we'll start our 2-game per round finals here of the 2019 Indiana Scratch Classic. Scott Gilmore, Mike Aulby here with you at Mike Aulby's Arrowhead Bowl here in Lafayette. And Mike, some big news through the PBA, as Bolero buying the PBA now just announced some really big prize money put in this 2020 season.
Yeah, it's exciting for the guys. I mean, and gals that bowl out on the men's tour there, or the regular tour, open tour, and when you're bowling for $100,000 first, I mean that'll make your knees knock a little bit. And I think they're adding almost $400,000 or $500,000 in total prize funds. So they're in it for the long haul because they're a bowling company, which is really, really good for all of us because they see the value in the game and the sport and the people that's in it. So yeah, it's exciting.
Well, and I think what they see, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if 50, 60 plus people, and I mean bowlers, bowling for a living, can bowl comfortably, right, and make good money, what's that going to do for the youth? They see that, correctly? And you're going to see more kids, maybe younger, stay with the sport because they can see a career in it.
Yeah, and in the industry we miss. There's a segment we miss, and so we've got, the ladies bowl for a Division I college scholarship. High school bowling is very big, and not only here but in a lot of states in the United States. We miss the to get to that point. So we've got everything set up, but we do need the kids that want to start out and pick bowling to be the sport they want to play or one of the sports they want to play. So once we get them in, which hopefully Bolero will open those doors to the kids and makes it easier for the proprietor to sell his youth league and his youth league experience, and because we already have the next step up, and then we've got the tour back. So it's great. And the PWBA is in business as well. So we're almost back to the way it was in the 70s and 80s, to where we've got the full complement.
Yeah, and it's really great to see. And there's a lot of good young talent out there, and especially in the college ranks, and to give them an opportunity, both male and female, a chance to really hone your skills and give it a shot to make a good living. I think that's a great thing for the sport.
And the junior gold. I mean, look at junior gold tournament. Was it 2,500?
Yeah.
Youth bowl in this tournament. It takes over a city. I
Yeah.
mean, it's phenomenal. So we're all set up in a lot of areas, but now hopefully we can go back. If you look at the pyramid, where the pros are at the top of the pyramid and it goes out, we just need some more base, and I think that's what's going to lead us to that.
Yeah, there's always been the discussion, how important is the PWBA and the PBA tours to its respective sport, and I still think professionally is extremely important to show
you have to have
kids.
something to see at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely.
You got to have something to strive for, and so
Absolutely.
And now there's something we can all be proud of.
Right. And it can't be something, obviously there's an important part as a college bowler to get your education, but when you're really at the top of your game at that age, to be able to go out, and a lot have gone on to do that with some success. Locally right here, Matt Sanders comes to mind, who goes to college, bowls for Marion, and now is out there giving it his shot to. But Marshall Kent and some other kids that went to college did real well, and now they're giving their shots on the PBA tour, and some success too as well. So it's a great thing, I think, for the sport.
Yeah, no, it is very nice, wonderful. We're all excited. Thanks to Tom Clark and his staff prior to this for keeping it alive and for that opportunity to be available.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really cool to see how it grows with the Bolero Corporation. And, boy, nobody's going to want my autograph on that sucker. Mike's over here signing a pen, and you see Matt Sanders and all these other guys. And
well, here's a guy we didn't mention yet.
Yeah, and he's sneaking in there. EJ Tackett, squad leader. You can watch this kid bowl over and over and over again, and just never comprehend how he gets so much on the ball.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch him out here, just to watch the pins just look like duck pins flying back and forth. I mean, it's phenomenal.
I mean, you can watch him in slow motion, and you just can't.
Yeah.
The hand just doesn't look like it's doing so much, but it's out so quick.
He's the total package. I mean, he enjoys himself out there. He's intense. He's a good guy. I mean, you root for a guy like EJ. He has it all.
Well, and he's very approachable.
And he's from Indiana, which
yes,
is even better.
Absolutely. Very approachable, and which I think is a great thing, and really, to me, a sponsor's dream when, young kids can approach him, and he's all about giving them 5 or 10 minutes of his time.
Yeah.
So, but, yeah, as you look over here, I mean, Matt Sanders shoots 187 over, and Gene Perez shoots 250 over. I mean, that's just
phenomenal. Yeah, it was a phenomenal set this morning. I mean, it was just we watched him sit there and shoot 299, I believe. So, which it's hard to believe he left a 7-pin the way he threw it. But it just he was just every time he hit the pocket, he got 10. So,
it also goes to show you too what squad, Mike, you bowled, because you look, and Matt Sanders led the morning squad, and I believe EJ led the second shift, and then you get down here like on the third or fourth, Scott Tapley, only plus 94. So it just kind of shows you, I always felt like if I was going to bowl a tournament where it was just qualifying and there was multiple squads, I wanted to bowl early. I always felt like the more you ran the lane, re-oiled, stripped, they got tighter and tighter as the day went.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on how well they strip them, I mean, and when you're doing them that quickly, then you don't have time for them really to kind of set up and the air to get to them and all those things. You're just trying to run squads. So, yeah, there's a lot of merit to that for sure.
Absolutely, and everything's based on a time. Good tournament directors try to keep everything running on time, and Jeff Circle does a phenomenal job with that.
He has a good group in there. They do a wonderful job.
But minus 17 to make the cut on Saturday, plus 43 to make the cut here on Sunday.
Huh.
So interesting. Now, obviously, the amount of entries were different from – they only had 32 this morning. They had 130 plus on Saturday, so there's your difference there. So some value to coming in on day one when you have a larger pool of bowlers to try to make that cut. So just underway here at the 2019 Indiana Scratch Classic, round number 1 of the finals here on Sunday. I want to thank our sponsors, Pinheads, Bowling Centers in Fishers, Indiana, Motive Bowling, Mike Aulby's Arrowhead Bowl here in Lafayette, and Big 4 Socks. Also want to thank the state USBC for putting on this event and allowing us to broadcast this to you here on Savage Bowling TV. Coming up here on other broadcasts, we'll be back on the air in January at the end of the month. We'll be in Anderson for the Indiana State Masters. And then the really cool thing, we'll be back on in somewhere in March, I believe, for the Indiana State Queens. And then also we'll be on the air in February, too, for high school bowling for the 2020 state finals for high school bowling. And so a lot of live stream action coming up. And also we'll be in December next month. We'll be over at in Lafayette for the Ebonite Lafayette Open for the 22nd event for that tournament. So a lot of live stream action coming up here for, if you like bowling, tune in to Savage Bowling TV.
You guys do an awesome job. I mean, we're proud in Indiana of everything you guys are able to do for the industry, and because this doesn't happen in any other state than with us, and that's because of you guys.
Well, we enjoy it, and obviously, Mike, you've been around the sport pretty much your entire life, and you've seen it grow and change, and it's so much different than what it was in the 70s, and what the difference is the equipment has really changed the game.
It has, and yet here we are back to urethane.
Yeah.
It's funny because when I started in the late 70s, I mean, it was plastic and rubber, and then urethane came along, then reactive resin, and I mean, just there's been different materials that seem to come around, but as you've always found out, the bowlers always try to find some other way to get, and if it's going back a few decades to get something else, then that's what they do, and it seems like somebody always seems to find it.
Here on lane 12 is Vu Dong, a unique style. He throws it right down the middle. Vu made some headlines in Indianapolis a few months ago. He was on vacation in North Carolina and caught a 43-pound, I believe, redfish, and it made headlines in North Carolina. It was like one of the largest ones caught right off a dock.
Oh, my.
And it was really cool. The Indianapolis Star wrote up a great article on it, and quite amazing. And
that sounds like a fight and a half, doesn't it?
Yes, it took him quite a while to bring that in, and it was such a great story. And Vu is such a tremendously nice individual, and it was really a cool story to read. But man, I can imagine here you are on the end of a dock and just casting away and then hook into something that they said it's really they say it's really hard to catch a fish that particular breed that big. And matter of fact, the record fish in that same, I believe, in redfish caught off that same, not necessarily the same pier that he was on, but in the same area, was over I believe 80 inches long. It was like ridiculously huge, and they had it up on a wall. But Vu made some headlines there, and of course he's got to give the fish back. They throw it back in.
Oh, they do.
Yes, yeah, he didn't keep it. But
probably cost you a fortune if you wanted to mount that.
Right? Yeah. But great story. If you want to Google,
I'll have to do that.
You'll have to Google Vu with VU, and you'll Google Indianapolis Star, and you'll see the article. Really interesting. And it was great to see his reaction after he was caught it and was holding it in his hands, but it was gigantic. But Vu, he throws it right down the middle, and sometimes, Mike, as you know, when you bowled overseas, they used to call it the helicopter.
Yeah, the spinners. Yeah.
And that's what they did. And
yeah, it was phenomenal. I mean, you watched it. I mean, either side of the head pin, the ball mixed, the pins mixed. They used the mixing, and yeah, it was phenomenal to watch. And if the scoring pace is, even though the guys on top are hitting the pins pretty hard, it took minus to make it. So,
right.
So that makes it available for somebody who throws a ball like that to not have to keep up. But it'll be hard to advance from here on out.
Your margin of error is much, and you got to break up anything that hits right on the nose.
Yeah.
Like in anything. There's Jimmy Cook on lane 14 with a weak 10 pin. But as you see Cameron here on lane 13, those are the leaves you want to avoid, the Greek church. And especially when you're in a race to 2 games.
2 games, yeah. It's not very long.
And then you go 1 count. So 5-1.
Yeah, that hurts no matter what you're on. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's Chris Cundiff here getting ready to step on lane 13. As Jimmy tries to pick up his spare. And again, 2 games they bowl. We'll have scoring after 1 as soon as the staff here provides it. We're off way to the side. We're on lanes. Mike and I are sitting up on a perch behind 5 and 6, our championship pair. And 11 and 12 begins the first round. So we're way off to the side here, so we can't really look at scores.
It's a big white mess down there when you look at that.
Yes, it is.
Don't have the visibility for that.
So, Mike, what have you been doing with your downtime here?
Yeah, anything but down, but yeah. We are in the middle of a reconstruction project at the ice rinks in Carmel. So we are, there's a break going across over, but that works. And yeah, so we're replacing some rinks, and you know, it's a lot of work. You know, it's right in the middle of our busy season, so it's making it really hard.
I'm going to say, yeah.
When the summertime would have been great because we'd have been saving some money on the utilities.
Yeah,
but
when it gets cold, that's when you're busy over there.
Yeah, and I guess we're going to get some cold weather tomorrow, it sounds like.
Now, has hockey always been a passion for you?
I've always enjoyed hockey. It would be probably the minor leagues here in Indianapolis. I used to go down and get to know some of the guys that played down there, and they'd come and bowl with me in the afternoons, and they were actually the main farm team for the New York Islanders in the early 80s. So when they were winning their Central Hockey League championships, the New York Islanders winning 4 straight Stanley Cups. And so when I would go to Long Island, I'd bowl with the Islanders for Big Brothers and Big Sisters. So got to know a lot of the hockey guys. I actually had pictures that I took. I had a story in their Goal magazine, and so they printed some of my pictures. And so, yeah, so hockey's been a passion for quite some time. Then my son played through high school, and my daughter played and all that. So we loved it, yeah.
Wow, your daughter played.
Yeah, she is actually retired. She had 3 concussions, so yeah, it was too many.
Well, I tell you, hockey is definitely a contact sport.
Yeah, it is.
And they say probably really the toughest athletes in any sport are probably hockey players.
Yeah, and it's just amazing. It's a tough one. It's really, on TV, it's tough that you see it, but unless you go to a game, you really can't. You just don't get the full effect. But yeah, that kind of power and speed, and then you throw hitting in there and all, and it's like, man, all bets are off. I mean, it's not for the weak.
Yeah, some of those guys are quite large.
Oh,
well, Sidney Crosby's no small guy.
No, and he's had his concussion problems, but you know, they can stick handle in a closet. I mean, it's just phenomenal. Some of the Alex Ovechkin, I mean, you know, the stuff he's able to do, and it's really cool what they can do. It's just amazing watching them see. And one thing that I really liked about the hockey players, they're like the bowlers. They love to mix with the people. They're down-home people. Even though they're from all over the world now, they'll give you the time of day. You know, where you get to some of the higher-level sports, and it's almost like there's a force field there, and they don't want to talk to us normal folk.
Well, and I know, you know, I think the disconnect sometimes between top-tier athletes and what I would say maybe just fans is, you know, the fan doesn't get an opportunity to speak to the top-level athlete. So they like a picture and, you know, something to remember them by. And, you know, sometimes the players that don't really care so much don't want to give that time. But they don't realize how awestruck the fan is.
Well, and timing's everything when it comes to that. You know, it's no different than these guys or the PBA Tour. It all depends when you have that connection or that chance to meet them. You know, did they just shoot a bad game to miss a check, or are they doing great? We're all human, so timing is everything.
And Jeff Grego right through the face, and he seems to be struggling a little bit.
Yeah, seems to be confused with that.
He came in light or a little heavy earlier in this game and left a split and opened, and that really the 3, 6, 9, 10 is one of the toughest spares for a right-hander on.
Yeah, because you got to snug it up enough to make sure you get the 9, but it's easy to slide by that or chop it off, and there's just so many ways you can miss the spare like that.
Again, they're about 3/4 of the way here through game number 1. I want to thank our fans watching Savage Bowling TV here for the 2019 Indiana Scratch Classic here from Mike Aulby's Arrowhead Bowl in Lafayette. Nice day today outside. It's supposed to be in the 50s, I believe, but boy, some bad weather coming in this area.
Yeah, I think we've skipped fall and went right to January.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 1 to 3 inches of snow maybe tomorrow. Oh,
well, no, that's one way to do it.
That's a huge break.
That's why they have walls. You
Yes.
got to mix it a little bit and get the 3 off the wall and let it take out maybe the 9 and the 10.
I don't know if I would, like you're saying, probably try to make it that way. Your conversion rate would be very low.
Yeah, that was a good break there. And in a 2-game match, I mean, you got to get some breaks to keep you going.
Lafayette bowler here on lane 20, Jared Massey with the strike. Rocking his Joker, or Riddler, I should say, the
yes,
Riddler from the Batman series jersey. Now Mark Sullivan on lane 21. That looks inside, crosses over, 9-pin. Probably happy with that result.
Yeah, I thought he was going to get away with that one there a little bit, but yeah, he's definitely going direct.
Looks like Vu has got a big game going here, Mike. If I'm looking
he's
right
gonna-
on lane
he's gonna
12.
He's going to make me be incorrect here, I think.
He's got front 3, then a 9 spare, and now a 3-bagger through 7. Get Chad to flip over. Unique style here. Right through the head, and I jinxed him. He leaves just the 6-10, but
Makeable.
you know, stranger things have happened. And like,
Well, he's able to put the strikes together. Now you just got to make sure you stay clean, and you know, a nice 230 to start the first game. I'm sure that puts him ahead of a lot of people in this first round.
believe me, there's probably 25 other bowlers would love to have his start through 8 frames if he makes a spare. And that's the thing, you just have to avoid the open.
Well, you just can't afford that 160 game, you know, out of the get-go. Good
And he
spare.
makes the spare. Good cover there for Vu. And it's really, I always felt like when I was watching players, even the better ones, they'll try to keep their angles a little tight to start, and then you'll start seeing them open the lane up as transition takes place. But see, there's
But that's what you get. Like you're talking, you see a 210, and you start trying to is it time to open up a little bit? Obviously not yet.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
You get a little bit of wiggle, and then that's what you come up with. You just don't leave stuff to make. I mean, you
Yeah.
can make that, but
give you a false sense of security
Yes.
in a sense.
because I know earlier he's keeping it more straight, and it crossed over him, so he's kind of caught in that V there.
Now Chris Cundiff here. Oh, stone 9-pin.
Nice shot. No reward, but it was a great shot.
Definitely throwing something with a little bit of surface, it looked like.
But it stayed there. It didn't jump. It just kind of did its thing.
Now Trent Jarvis on lane 12. Oh, pocket.
I would not expect that. He
8-10.
looks like he came off his hand really well. That's the reaction you got to have, because you just got to move on from something like that. It's just a bad break.
You just hope it's just not in a
Yeah,
really critical
no.
situation.
Yeah.
Looked like for him it was right in the 9th frame too as well. Which is
he's
not
already
where you
got-
want it.
and he's already got one open already, it looks like. So
But as easy as it is to shoot, 170 or 60, you can also turn around and get on a good pair, get on a roll and shoot 230
Yeah.
or 40 and be right. Usually in the first round, if you could shoot a little over 400, be
should make
in that
three.
203, 204 average range, I think that might be enough to get through. But then, it's like we talked earlier, as soon as you whittle down and you're with the guys that have bowled well all day, it's going to take a lot more than that. And the bowlers will start migrating left when you get into the low end of the center.
It's a tough spare on 11 for Vu as well. That extra 5-pin behind the
And that's the thing.
136.
When you throw as straight and hard as he does, you don't leave normal, leads.
No, and your game's based upon head pin. You know,
Right.
hit the head pin, whether it's left, right, you hit the head pin.
PBA washout, they always call that, for Jeremiah Blankman on 12.
And that's one of those.
Oh,
Oh, Vu's
Vu
got some
gets-
great action there.
And a great reaction from
Maybe
Vu.
that is the way to go for that. I don't know. That's twice we've seen a version of that has worked out. But that's where, around the head pin, it gives you that kind of action. And obviously he's throwing with a lot of speed. And so he's going to get the pins moving.
Well, I'll tell you what, even though he doesn't have a traditional style and way of bowling, there wouldn't be a disappointed person in this building if Vu would go on to win this. He is very well liked amongst his peers and would be a great story, that's for sure. And Trent coming right back with a 4-pin after leaving the 8-10 in the pocket. He's looking to be somewhere about on I'm going to say maybe a 160 or 70 pace at best.
Yeah, that's exactly where he's at.
See, that's always I think the frustrating thing for a bowler is when you come in and you leave, let's say a half 10 or a half 7, and you make the adjustment that you should normally make, and then you leave a 4 or 6 pin.
Yeah.
That's where you get frustrated.
Yeah, because textbook-wise, that should be the right move, but for whatever reason, is your speed the same? Is it what? But yeah, those are frustrating. And then you miss it. Makes it even more frustrating, which probably makes sense that was where the frustration came from, and then you don't concentrate on your spare.
Well, there's a lot of former champions in this event. Trent Jarvis, we just talked about, he won in 2015. Jimmy Cook won it way back, I believe, in 2012. And obviously Gene Perez, our defending champion, is here. Matt Sanders won this event, I believe, in 2016. And Chris Cundiff won this in 2014. And all those guys are right here. And then we do have some Masters champions here. Mark Sullivan is a former Masters champion. I can't remember what year. Looks like maybe somewhere around 2010. And then obviously Gene Perez. Ryan Birchfield bowled. I don't know if he made the cut or not. But he did bowl earlier. He won the Masters in 18. Who else do we have here? Mike Lish, Masters champion in 2015, is here in the finals. So a lot of guys participate in these state events every year, and obviously winning a state championship is a prestigious title. And a lot of guys, it's not so much about the money, but it's also about the recognition as well.
It is, yeah. And the state of Indiana has a lot of great players, so if you win a state championship here, you've beat a lot of quality players. And there's some national players here as well today. So
yeah, Matt Sanders, EJ Tackett, really could almost qualify Gene Perez. He'll bowl some of the tour stops. He did bowl the U.S. Open, and so he would qualify in that realm too.
I agree totally with that. And well, not only that, what did we find out that he took a risk by going to a tournament yesterday in Ohio, and then so he banked everything on bowling well and was one round this morning. So, and then he led the squad. So obviously it was maybe seems like more of a gamble to me, but it's not when he knows his own game.
Yeah, absolutely. I always, would try to give myself a couple of chances here, but sometimes going in, hey, I'm done.
I'm with you. I like to have a safety net if that's what it is. But yeah, sometimes some people like the drive,
right?
The pressure on them to make shots, and obviously Gene is able to handle that.
Yeah, Jared Massey with a 7-pin there on lane 19, and Danny Clark to your right there with the strike on lane 23, and Danny. He gave it a run a couple years ago in the PBA 50 Players Championship. I believe it was in Indianapolis, and came within a few pins of making the TV show.
Oh, wow.
And Danny, good friends with Mark Sullivan. They bowl a lot of the 50 events together. Yeah, really, when you think about it right now, bowling as far as professionally is probably as good as it's been in decades with the 50 tour, with quite a bit of they have several stops for that. The season is actually quite large over the summer. And then, as you mentioned earlier, the PWBA and now the PBA with all of their announcements with larger prize funds and 3 tournaments that are going to pay over $100,000 each. Really,
Yeah, those are the ones. Those days will change your life there a little bit. You get $100,000 shot. Yeah, that's you just don't until you get to them. Then, yeah, I will say bowling in a few of those myself, and winning the U.S. Open in '89 for 100,000 first, and shoot 300 on TV and win basically 150,000 and one. Those are the ones that, boy, you can get caught up in thinking about that before you get out there and bowl, and it really takes the point to where you have to concentrate totally on one shot at a time, because you start looking ahead and man, it just you wake up in the middle of a tidal wave. So it's something that takes a lot mentally as well as physically to win those.
Well, the first thing I did when I saw EJ yesterday, I congratulated him on the pay raise for next year, and he got a chuckle out of that. And I said, but really to think about it, him and Jason Belmonte, those that have had high rate of success the last 2 or 3 seasons, they have to absolutely be loving that.
Well, but you also, the other side of that is do you have a bunch of guys who are very talented that may either be amateurs or what, who are now seeing that and going, hey, I need to be a piece of that, and so it becomes quite competitive. Yeah, not that the guys you've mentioned or the guys that are out there can't handle that kind of competition, but sometimes you get some extra.
Well, and I would think that would have to motivate you to want to practice.
Yeah, there's no reason to leave anything on the table when you've got those opportunities out in front of you.
Now Jimmy Cook here on 13. I believe he's in the 10th frame. Looks like he's working on an open.
He's got one of the most solid games in the state by far, and has showed it for many years.
One thing, he's really open at the top, but he really gets that elbow tucked back in tight. And that's
that way
where
he's able to project through the heads. He can play the heads anyway, and that's important, to be able to play the front part of the lane, either a little bit online or loop it. He can do whatever he wants to do with it, so that he's very versatile. Obviously by all his championships and scores that he shoots, but that was a perfect classic example of his game right there.
They seem to be the last 2 pairs here, 13 and 14. And it looks like 15 and 16 might be the last 2 finishing up their first game. Everybody else has completed and now are changing to their second pair. And there's Dylan Holford with a good strike, 2-hander. Representing Soapy Joe's out of Anderson, Indiana.
Oh,
what a leave there.
Now that you do not see.
11. Ugh. Wow, you do not see that leave very often at all. Is that the 3-4-9?
I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, 3-4-9.
Yeah.
Take a photo of that because you won't see that.
Well, it's gonna be hard too, because you got to get just to the right to send that 3 into the 4, and then hopefully something comes across and gets a 9, because more likely the ball's not going to get it if you hit it light enough.
Good double there for Dylan in the 10th frame.
There it goes.
No. I mean, that's just
Too
almost
strong. Yeah, that's a hard one.
I mean, and the outsides are so tight that the ball's just not going to recover to get the 9-pin out.
Yeah.
You might be able to get the 3-4, but boy, to get the 9 with it could be a challenge.
Yeah, that's one where I think I'd have to sit down for a minute and kind of think what my odds are here and what I'm shooting for. Some of those you just, like I said, you don't ever see them. Those look great, those shots.
There are 2 different types of 2-handers. There's the Jason Belmontes and that really look like a bowler, right?
He's in his own.
I wouldn't put Dylan in that category, but he's very close. I mean, you watch him bowl with 2 hands. He's very solid at the foul line. There's not a lot of moving parts from the start of the approach to the finish. You see some 2-handers and the head's going everywhere and the arms are going everywhere. But Dylan has got a very nice game for a 2-hander. Very young kid still too, so he's got a lot of future in front of him in this sport.
Yeah, you'd have to add the length of a football field for me to get as many revs as he gets on 60 feet.
Somebody asked me if you tried bowling 2-hander, and I said yes, and I'm lucky.
With a wheelchair waiting for me.
Lucky to survive it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can't even visualize it, let alone think about doing it.
That's the thing is, I think the people that are, that dislike the 2-handers, one is they're envious of the amount of revs they can put on a ball. but they just can't physically do
No.
it. And
Well, you know, I go right to the point of, gosh, what if my fingers stay in the ball and I just tear my whole arm off? You know, it's just like there's so many bad things that could go wrong.
I look
for
at
me.
it this way. I think it's a positive for the sport if it gets kids involved in it.
Well, and, you know, we used to mess around like that when we were kids throwing it that way, but never thought it would be a way to actually do it.
Oh, I would always remember after practicing for an hour or so or two when I was in college and before, we would finish our night with a 8-pound challenge,
right.
and you just put your fingers in
Yeah.
an 8-pound ball and try to hook the whole lane
Yeah.
and see what you could get. Of course, the ball deflected so badly,
Yeah.
but yeah, never in my wildest dreams would you have thought. Now, Mike Miller, he kind of made that just the one-handed with no thumb.
One-handed, yeah.
Yeah.
And he wasn't able to use the other hand, but you know, and he went from a guy who threw the ball very direct, very straight, not a lot of revolutions on the ball, was a decent player, but never had a whole lot of success. Went home, went to the one hand with, and came out, won the PBA National Championship doing it, and then 6 months later he's got a stress fracture in his forearm. So, finished his career with that. So that's unfortunately there was consequences the way he tried to throw it, where now the two-handers can use the other hand to kind of stabilize things. So they haven't seemed to show any kind of injury issues with that delivery.
Good young Lafayette player here on lane 20, Zach Rhodes. Bowled for Wichita State in college, and really nice game. Works very hard on his game, but him and some teammates a couple years ago won the USBC team championships.
Oh,
in Las Vegas, I believe. So
great release. Great release.
Really good young player there.
Because you see a ball with that many revolutions, but it didn't read the lane early. It went down the lane, turned when it was supposed to, hit the pins perfect. Great shot.
Another Lafayette local bowler here on lane 20, Joe Massey. That looks right.
Hurry, yeah.
Yep. And the 5 count. Boy, you see a lot of that.
Yeah, I think the extra loft delayed it a little too much on that one.
And Zach Tackett there with one outside, and no chance of coming back here. Leaves the rail on 21. Boy, you can miss this in a variety of ways, too.
Yeah, those are the ones you got to think about before you go up there and shoot them. What you're trying to do with the ball.
Oh. Thank you, Kerry, for bringing us Game 1 scores. Mike, you want to go through some of those?
Wow. Is it Chris Safarth?
Yeah.
Up top, 235, tied with Danny Clark. So 235 on top. And, of course, Vu, who we were excited to watch, in third with 230. On Zach Tackett, 226. So we've had some good scores right out of the gate. All the way down to the bottom with a 159. So
I didn't quite hear how many they're taking out of this round. We were guessing somewhere around 15. And right now, Mike, 15 is +5. Daniel Freeman.
Well, that's pretty good. I mean, that's going to be obviously it's a plus score, so it's above what it allowed them to get in with. So not too many, and there's a lot of guys and a lot of 180s, 190s real close to that. So there's only a couple people who've had struggled the first game, so it's going to make it real difficult for them to make it.
Yeah, you get down in here, Jeff Grego at 186, and you get down in this area in the 170s to 180s, and they're going to have to go.
You need to pop a good one.
All right, Chad, just let us know they're taking 16. So Bailey Maverick at 204. He's tied with Chris Curry. So I'm assuming they're going to take the top 16 and all ties will advance.
Well, and you got 10 people who are less than 20 pins behind that. So it's really tight.
Some good scores though.
And we watched Jimmy Cook talk about his game. He shot a 214 the first game. Mark Sullivan right behind him at 212. So they're all packed in there.
All right. Speaking of Bailey Maverick here in 16th place as the cut. He is getting ready to step up on lane 21. Young player. Matter of fact, not too long ago, we were talking about Mr. Maverick at the Indiana High School State Finals. He won a singles championship in that time frame. Oh, they would. Kerry just tapped on me. They would have a roll-off if there's a tie for the 16th spot. Boy, that would be some pressure.
That would be some pressure, yeah. You're either in or you're out. There's not much more black and white than that. as fast as we talk out here and as quick as the staff answers those in there with, Jeff circling that, I mean, we could pretty much ask for anything. It seems like they're just on us that quickly. So that's
Are you
nice.
hungry?
Yeah. But thanks to Jeff and his staff in there because they do a bang-up job. I'll tell you, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's almost like rubbing a genie lamp. I'm like, can we request anything? Poof, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was making a comment about 16 and ties, and 2 seconds later I had a tap on the shoulder and said, roll off. And, oh, yeah, here we go. So the tie-breaking procedures.
They printed all that out in about 30 seconds. Look at that.
Yeah, I know. Gosh. Boy, that is on top of things, isn't it? So they have a roll-off after every round if there's a tie.
You'd almost think they've done this before.
Yeah, once or twice I think Jeff's done it.
Yeah.
9th and 10th frame roll-off. So it's actually 1 game roll-off, and then if still tied, a 9th and 10th frame roll-off. So a lot of action here if we do have a tie. Thanks, Kerry, for that information.
Mike Leach starting with 3 in a row down there.
Mike's I
He's
use
a
the word
steady player.
sneaky good.
He's a good, steady player, yeah.
You don't see a whole lot, and then all of a sudden he's got a big game.
Well, and Mike's one of those bowlers who just loves being out in the competition and the bowling part. It's a challenge, and he likes that and loves it, and we're always happy to see him out here bowl. And he's successful. He does well.
Well, he works on his game too.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll practice and put some time in it, and obviously he leaves a busy career in the medical industry, but
yeah, I had a little back procedure and just happened to, be sitting there, and Mike came by and said, "What are you doing in here?" So I was happy to see somebody I knew in there. So it was great to see Mike earlier this year. So.
Now Daniel Freeman here on 13. Aaron McCormick on 14 here. Another Lafayette bowler.
Oh, good break.
Trip 6. When Aaron McCormick, he needs it. He's -3 right now.
He's right there. Yeah, that was a great break there. Playing pretty direct.
I'm going to guess right now that you're probably going to see these scores kind of hover. Maybe +6, +7 might be a guess to make the top 16.
Yeah, it just depends how quickly they adjust on that pair they move to. Remember, these are games with practice, so
right.
So now they've moved, and it's let your ball be your guide.
Yeah, and usually the way Jeff does things, you skip a couple of pairs so you're not bowling like right next to each other. So.
Well, and it's important when you're moving the pairs to at least get an idea what's going on over there. So, you need to sneak a peek or two to see if there's someone that throws a ball like you or at least plays in the general vicinity you're playing so you can see where they're playing them to know if there's something, out of the ordinary you need to be ready for.
Danny Clark here on lane 12.
Had a good start first game.
Way out by the edge.
Real direct, though. Real direct.
Well, you can guarantee one thing. That ball is dull as you can get it. Danny doesn't throw too many shiny balls. But he likes to play the twig and kind of a lower rev rate player. And he'll throw it soft and let the ball do all the work. That was my problem, I think, yesterday, is I just couldn't slow the ball down, and I just kept the ball would just get it past the break point and couldn't quite figure it out.
Well, it's hard because when you start dialing speeds, especially when you dial them back and you try to, then you don't follow through, like you would crisply. I mean, you need to still follow through, not as hard, but you still have to follow it through all the way through. Otherwise, it's going to break loose early on you, and you leave splits. Then you get through one, and then it misses your hook point, like you said.
Now Aaron McCormick here on lane 13. That looks high, and it is. 3-6-10.
That's a tough angle he's playing because there's not a lot of room for error, it doesn't look like there.
It's hard to get the arm swing loose, too, I think, because you just don't have anything right or left.
That had to be Vu. Yes.
That was Vu with the heater there on 15.
Yes, I was going to say that has some oomph to it. Yeah. But it was high flush on one side or the other, and all 10, that's the key.
There's always going to be styles you never teach, but all you have to do is be, nobody's teaching kids to play and swing like Jim Furyk, but when you can perfect whatever your craft is the way you do it,
Yeah, it's all about being able to make adjustments, being consistent and make adjustments. That'll work. 3/6-10 spare.
He looked nervous. We couldn't see it. He was blocking the pins, but when he let go of it, I didn't think he liked it very much. Always felt like in your center, Mike, the light hit was king.
Yeah, I think you're much better there than you are trying to get one, especially if you're coming in a little late or a little behind. The corners are tough to get.
Yeah, the pins like to bounce here, I think, and obviously if you throw them like Trent just did there on 15 and send 10 back, that's fine. But if I had a choice, I like the light hit.
I agree.
Now Mike Lish here on lane 12. On an open frame here in the 5th.
He moved in a little bit, but it didn't seem to push for him. Oh, he threw it pretty well. Just broke loose a little early. But like you said, you talked about him being tighter on the outside. I think, if you don't, you're trying to keep away from there, but you still got to get the trajectory going that way. Just not too far, which makes it a very difficult angle to play.
Well, and I think anytime they're a little tight on the outside and you're playing in and you're swinging to that spot, you have some trepidation on.
It's like a car sliding on ice till you finally hit that dry spot and it
you know it's there.
Yeah.
But you just don't know when it's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough to be relaxed and comfortable with your swing when you got tight or oil to the outside of your hook point.
It's hard to believe that here we are, through the first week or so of November. Boy, the springs and summers seem to go by so fast anymore.
Yeah, it's almost like you missed it. I think we missed this one too because there we are right to January weather already.
The years go by so fast. It didn't seem like it was all that long ago. We were sitting here getting ready to.
I think that's because we're getting a little older. I think is what it is, and I'm much older than you, so.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that.
That's what I'm using. Anyway.
Yeah, I didn't want to say I remember watching you every Saturday afternoon on ABC.
Well, you dated yourself right there when you said Saturday afternoon. So.
I never missed the 3:30 to 5 somewhere in that time frame. I think it always was on.
Yeah. Lead into Wide World of Sports. Yeah, it was. Those were some fun days, I'll tell you, with ABC Television, Chris Schenkel, and going back to the Hoosier and being part of the state of Indiana. I mean, Chris Schenkel was our lead announcer, who was nationally known, and just so fortunate from Indiana. Whether it's Don Johnson, Dick Weber, you can keep naming them, who came from Indiana. So.
Well, obviously Chris is at the pinnacle of broadcasting, and anybody would want to aspire to be Chris Schenkel. I mean, he had I always felt like the deep velvet voice and sound, and great presentation, and you always kind of wonder what his initial thoughts were taking over bowling, right?
Yeah.
And really kind of made him almost even more famous.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Chris was he didn't look at it as a negative. When he came into it, it was something he put his life and soul into, and he enjoyed it because I think he enjoyed the guys, the bowlers. He enjoyed being out there and being with them, and plus when you got a job that's going to be 16 weeks a year in a row, in the prime television time, I mean, it's a pretty good gig, I think, and he could still do some of the other things he did occasionally, whether it was Masters golf and things like that. He did the championship game in the NFL. I mean, Chris did a lot of tremendous things, and of course, he was always out the track too. So, and he was just one of those. He was a Hoosier. He was just a down-home gentleman.
Oh wow! Look behind us here, Mr. EJ Tackett. I think that works.
Does it work?
It works.
Yeah,
it
we
works.
hear you. So, EJ, you get yourself a bye after a nice qualifying squad yesterday. You probably have been down watching the guys bowl a little bit. What are you seeing, and what are your thoughts as you get ready to participate here in round number 2?
Well, I was having a little bit of lunch. I had to support Mike here and get some food.
Well, we
in
appreciate
the snack
that.
bar. Some guys were striking, so I assume as the day goes on, the quality of the people that are bowling are going to get better and better, and I anticipate the scores to stay fairly high. The people that are bowling can strike, so definitely got to come out and throw some strikes, put some stuff together, and it's not going to be one of those walk your way to the finals. Gonna have to put a little work in and stay focused.
EJ, just congratulations on all you've done. I mean, it's been a wonderful to say you're from Indiana and the things you've been able to do and the way you carry yourself especially. But we all appreciate that and carrying the torch on. Talked with Tommy Jones yesterday. He was in Kuwait. Were you there?
I was not in Kuwait. I was getting married.
Oh, well, that works. That works. And you're here with us today.
A little more important stuff to do, right?
Congratulations. That's awesome. Very nice.
Yeah, we got married 8 days ago. So.
Oh, very good. Somewhere fun, I hope you went.
In Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And once continued success, and of course the Bolero thing coming up, but very exciting, and hopefully you'll be able to tap into some of that great money they're throwing out there. And
I hope so too.
Yeah, so we know you'll work at it because you're not one to take it lightly. You take this professionally, and obviously since I first met you in high school and the things you've been able to do, but the way you represent bowlers in Indiana, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
One quick question, EJ. As they move to round number 2, you're going to be coming down on the low end of the house, and traditionally it's played tighter. Any strategies or game plan that you think that you're going to have to try to do at parts of the lane you're going to try to play?
Well, yesterday in the second block, I actually started on 1 and 2, and then went to 7 and 8, and I bowled 260, 250 to start those. So I'm going to try to do the same thing that I did then. Hopefully it works out today. Every time we run the lanes, they get just slightly a little bit different. They normally get a little tighter, so might have to add a little bit of surface to a bowling ball today. But hopefully I can do the same thing, stay in the same part of the lane. I was actually playing pretty straight with that new Blitz tank that we have that's not urethane, not reactive, like one of those balls. And I was able to play, 6, 7, 8 pretty straight up the lane. So hopefully I can do that again today.
Something that Brett Spangler created in his basement and his laboratory.
Yeah, basically.
Well, best of luck this afternoon. I know it's nice to win prize money, but it's also nice to claim a championship as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. The money comes and goes, but those trophies on the trophy case last forever. So.
Well, you're filling them up quite a bit. I'm sure that's something you and Natalie have discussed, getting those showcases a little bit bigger, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we got the basement for.
All right, EJ, best of luck this afternoon.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, EJ Tackett here, ready to bowl here after this first round is completed. And
well, that's quite the message, wasn't it? 260, 250 on the low end.
Yeah, just
that sends a message to the
yawn.
rest of the field. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that with one eye open or closed?
Well, I mean, I don't think anything, scares him. I don't. There's a condition that really he thinks, I can't do that, or this is not something I'd be comfortable with. He just looks at the challenge and does it, and that's obviously a true champion, which he is. So it's exciting to have him here today.
Let me ask you this: as a player of your caliber and the things that you've done in your career, was there ever a point when you started out on tour that you had trouble with the nerves or just getting relaxed? And at what point in your career did you see yourself that the situation never really bothered me, no matter what it was?
Well, I think it comes and goes. I mean, it's one of those things where you have confidence at times, and there's times something maybe happens that creates a little bit of doubt. For me, I was fortunate that I won the 11th tournament I bowled in on the national tour. So my goal when I first went on tour was I just want to stay out as long as I could. I was able to be successful and make enough money to stay out. So when I won the 11th tournament, it kind of cemented to me that I could compete and that I had an opportunity. Now, saying that, the next year, I'd finished second again, and then I'd made a show and bowled pretty well. Then the next show I shoot 140 on television. I didn't call home for a week. I was so embarrassed because it was something new. So it kind of rocks you for a little bit. But so those things make some things come and go. And then I went on a 2.5-year streak where I didn't win. But I always had in the back of my mind, if I could ever win in Indianapolis, where I put more pressure on myself to bowl well, I have to stop at Woodland Bowl in Indianapolis. And I felt if I could ever win there, I could win anywhere. Well, I broke that 2.5-year streak in Indianapolis in '84. I finished second the next week, 8th, and then I won again at the World Open, and then I won the first stop the next year in 1985. It just kind of opened the floodgate for me. But like I said, I never felt that I had it figured out. I always felt it was a challenge, so I didn't take anything for granted. And so I continued to learn, through the years. And then when I hooked up with Eva Burridge, she was a sports psychologist. She dated Bruce Hamilton. And, she helped me with my mental game. And then I was able to take it one more step to the next level. So I never – there was times when you had things that rocked you, and you just, depending on how well you could handle those and how long you were in that slump,
What I think the amazing thing to me is they say that every player, no matter how good, all have the adrenaline, the butterflies, the nerves, and it's how you manage those.
You have to have it. You need it.
Right.
Because if you're too relaxed, you don't dot the I's and cross the T's. You don't have that crisp follow through. You become kind of lazy when you think you've got it. Things like that. You're exactly right. You have to have that drive that's pushing you, even though it's nerves. If you don't get nervous, it's blasé.
Yeah, they say maybe you need to try something different
Yeah.
from that standpoint. But but that's what they say is it seems like, and I don't know if that was in your case, when you were able to manage the nerve, right, and focus more on execution, it seems like that's when you start to elevate your game as you move forward?
Yeah, I think so, because, like I said, the nerves, you have to know how to handle them. Because when you get there, everybody's got to be a little nervous. You have to be. So it is how you handle them. And for part of me, what I would do is I would go to some, the shows, I would go early. I'd be there a couple hours early than I was even scheduled to be there. Sit on the TV pair, talk to the TV crews, the guys in the camera, just kind of getting the feel for the thing and enjoy being. So the next time you're there, it's becoming more and more comfortable and more, you know what's going to happen. And plus, I just enjoyed it so much because you realize early on in your career that, no matter how successful you are, the times you make the top 5 are, Walter Ray's probably made 200 shows. But other than that, you don't make it every week or every second or third week. It's usually every 3 or 4 or 5, or if you're that good.
Right.
So you're not there as much as the tournaments you're bowling, so you kind of enjoy it while you're there.
Yeah, if we could all make 200 shows, right?
Yeah, exactly. and still be bowling at his age and doing well.
And two-handed, too.
Yeah. It's funny, I went and saw him in Anderson over this summer when the 50 Tour was over there. And so we were watching him bowl, and I was talking to Fancy, his wife, and so she said, yeah, he struggled. He had 180 or something. And all of a sudden, boom, here comes the two-hander, and it's like 230. It's like it's phenomenal to watch. Walter is unbelievable.
Yeah, and he's very good at it. Matter of fact, you were here, too, for a little bit, but you guys were fortunate enough to win the day with Dominic Barrett.
Exactly, yeah.
And Dom was out here throwing two-handed.
Great guy.
And really good at it.
Yeah.
Really good at it.
Yeah, he's a great guy too. Very nice. Leads himself very well on tour, and people. He's another one of those guys that's approachable and obviously very good and talented, and with what he does with the bowling ball.
Well, we're down here into the final frames here of round number 1. The top 16 will advance to the second round, and we'll throw in our squad leaders, which were Matt Sanders, EJ Tackett, Scott Tapley, and Gene Perez. Were the 4 squad leaders of yesterday and this morning.
Yeah, Mike Lish up on 11 there.
And anyway, we'll find out who those are. I'm sure Carrie will get us our score sheets quite quickly. And,
big shot.
And we'll sneak in here and yeah, it's on. Yeah, it's on, Matt.
Oh, we could have had him. You could have told him no, and then see what he gives us.
Well, we're joined here by Indiana bowler here, left-hander too. We got to put that in there, left-hander. So we're amongst ourselves, right? We're all 3 left-handers here. Matt Sanders joins us here in the broadcast booth, and Matt.
It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
No. We look in the mirror differently, right? Anyway, you're watching round number 1. What are you seeing right now?
I'll be honest, Scott, I haven't watched round number 1.
Uh-oh.
There's that relaxed feeling. There's that.
I was over there practicing about 6 lanes down with Gene, actually. So.
Oh, okay. So
sorry.
what's the as we were talking to EJ a little bit ago, and obviously round number 2 you'll move down here on the low end of the house. What do you think? The first 10 lanes react a little bit differently. Strategy, game plan in mind?
A little bit. I think it's the first 10 lanes. I think they're a little tighter, especially 1 through 4. 1 through 4 has always seemed a lot tougher for most of us, I believe. So it depends on where we draw. But I know I moved from the high end to 3 and 4 yesterday, and it didn't go too well, at least the first 3 or 4 frames. So I finally figured it out and got it together. So we'll kind of just, I don't know how much practice we get, but we'll throw a couple shots and kind of go from there. Really.
What game did you say you struggled with that in? I'm not seeing much here, Mike. That
It was
shows me that he struggled.
Second game of the second squad.
Oh, okay.
I had a good back half, Scott. I had a good back half. I figured it out. I had 15 in the second. It wasn't looking good. That's never a good start. I got to 2 something.
Well,
But we'll see. We'll see how practice goes.
are you going to stick with the urethane?
Most likely, yes.
All right, Mike. Yep.
Matt, hey, like EJ, thank you so much for the way you represent Indiana and yourself and bowling, period. But we wish you the best luck, and you add class anytime you show up, so we greatly appreciate it. And,
Well, I appreciate that. Just trying to be like you, Mike.
well, thank you for that. But so when you're practicing with Gene, are you trying to send a message at all? You're just trying to get loose? What is there? Those games are played by some people. Some people don't. It's either way. It's not right or wrong. But how do you approach that? Are you more about what you're doing and trying to figure out what's going to happen today?
Yeah, I'm not really too worried about Gene. We bowl together a lot, so I I know what to expect. He's going to, if he gets lined up, he's going to strike a lot.
Yeah.
So wasn't really. We just talked. We're friends, so
yeah.
I just kind of
Very
worried
good.
about. I wasn't worried about him. Just I'm trying to get good feel, get ready for the next round. So
And that's
I
what I would
had about
expect.
30 minutes just to kind of get loose and kind of hopefully get off my hand well. That's really the biggest thing.
I know the bye is nice to have, right? Do you feel like, though, is that a disadvantage for you guys? These guys that are going to come into the second round, have a couple games under their belt, a little more. They've got the feel for how the lanes are playing. Do you feel like, is that an advantage for you or disadvantage for you?
It depends. If we're going to Freshton, I don't think it's as much because we're all in the same field. So, if it was on Byrne, then definitely they would have the advantage. At this time, I think it's fine getting a bye, really.
So now with the 2-game, and move on, you got to come out here super aggressive.
We're gonna try.
All right. Well, we're going to
Try
be
get
watching.
that purple ball striking a little bit.
Well, I've seen it strike a lot. Unfortunately, Mike, I didn't have one in my hand, so I didn't strike a lot. But that's why I'm up here with you, which isn't a bad thing,
All right, well, thanks.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, Matt. And I know
you.
you've had a lot of success here and past winter, and
I like this place.
like to have 2 of those under your belt, right?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
We were just talking about EJ. The prize money's great, but how important is the championship in your
awesome.
mind?
It's something I looked at as kind of like you had the Scratch Classic, the Indiana Masters, and the Lafayette Open. It's kind of like the Indiana Triple Crown, basically, for amateur, the Scratch titles. So it's always, come out here that kind of gets you towards the Indiana Hall of Fame too. Really, that's what they're looking for. So it's a big tournament. There's about 150 people showed up for this tournament. So that's a good number. So it's just shows who's the best of the best in the state, really.
Well, and you speak of Triple Crown, and you said you're trying to be like Mike. Not a bad guy to be like. See, Triple Crown winner. Hey, right?
I saw the trophies when I walk in. I see it every time.
He's got so
Huge
many. He's got to
trophies.
put them in his bowling centers.
Unbelievable.
Imagine what the hockey rinks have down in Indianapolis. Well, best of luck, Matt, and we look forward to watching you participate here in round number 2.
Thank you.
All right, Matt Sanders
luck,
here
Matt.
from Evansville, Indiana, going to try to win number 2 in the Indiana Scratch Classic Championships. He's got 1 under his belt here in 2015, and super, super nice kid there in Matt Sanders.
Yeah, the way he talks, you can tell. He's got the right attitude. He enjoys being here. It's fun. It's not about necessarily the money. It's about competing. It's about we're so fortunate here between Matt, EJ, and the guys that are here. But it'll be fun today because we got some power out there.
Yeah, and round number 1 is wrapping up here, and Vu Dong, another high heater strike. So we'll have to find out if Vu's got enough. He shot 230 game number 1. You're probably, in his case, Mike, you're thinking, all right, if I could just be somewhere in that 190 range and higher, you got to feel pretty confident in your chances to. But, a lot can happen.
Yeah, score-wise for sure. But when you start thinking, I'll settle for that,
Yes.
it usually you end up 10 or 20 pins less than what you wanted to settle for.
Anytime you tell, all I need to do is shoot this.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how hard it is to get there.
I'm with you. I did that a few times. It's like, okay, wrong idea.
Yeah, because the frames go away quickly,
Yes,
don't they?
Yes.
Well, we'll once we get our scoring here from round number 1, we'll go through who advances, and then we'll close out round number 1 and end the broadcast and come right back on for round number 2 here at the Indiana Scratch Classic. Once again, want to thank our sponsors, Penheads Bowling Center and Fishers, Indiana, Motive Bowling, Big Four Sox, Mike Aulby's Arrowhead Bowl, and the Indiana State USBC for allowing Savage Bowling TV to bring you wall-to-wall action here from the finals here at the 2019 Indiana Scratch Classic inside Mike Aulby's Arrowhead Bowl. And also want to thank Chad Lester, our director, our programmer, our
He's everything, isn't he?
producer, and he's the right-hand man for us, and want to thank his hard work too, as we get in here early in the morning, about 7 o'clock in the morning, to get everything set up and wires run and taped down and all that stuff. So a lot of work goes involved behind the scenes, not just us bringing you live bowling action. So we want to thank you for taking a day out of your football Sunday to watch bowling here from Lafayette, Indiana. Wrapping up round number 1, all but one pair, and that pair just finished up, so it looks like everyone is done. And once Jeff and his staff get scoring, we'll find out who will make the cut to round number 2.
We'll see what the cut number is. We're taking the top 16. If there's a tie, it will be 9th and 10th frame roll-off on 11 and 12.
Now, that's not what our rules said, Mike.
Well, Jeff is the guy, so.
Now, see.
Well, yeah, it does say that.
Oh, qualifying to receive. Qualifying to advance to semifinals. So it must be.
Yeah.
Jeff is showing
Yeah,
us how to.
Can we get a highlighter pen, Jeff?
Yeah, can you put that in bold lettering? Just what he needs to worry about the TV
You know when
crew.
I said he'd come out in every 30 seconds or so, I moved that to like 10 when we're wrong.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, you know what? Sometimes you have to be spelled out everything to make sure you know what's going on, Mike. A lot of other bowling going on, though, too. Not only Matt had mentioned, like, he thought of the Indiana Triple Crown with the Indiana Scratch Classic and the Ebonite Lafayette Open, and then the Indiana State Masters, all taking place in November, December, and January, which is kind of a cool thing. There's also a lot of other events that you can go on to. Terry Rohr runs a doubles event in Pro Bowl West. That's on Thanksgiving weekend, so amateurs looking for other things to bowl, you can go on the USBC webpage and pull off the Indiana State Masters entry if you'd like to go ahead and get signed up early. I'm sure Jeff would take your entry for that. They get over close to 400 entries, I believe, for that every year, so one of the largest events I've ever seen personally for the state of Indiana. And, of course, a prestigious list of winners there. Have you ever thought about coming out of retirement and participating in one of those?
No.
Boy, that was quick.
I mean, I was actually kicking around. Maybe I should bowl league or do something. And then I hit this pain in my back that's really killing me. So I had the MRI. I've got 3 bulging discs all touching the nerve. So I had an epidural shot. So I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Don't want to risk that.
I'm hoping some physical therapy will get that straightened around, and maybe I'll get back at it at some point, but, it's just right now I would not.
Old hockey injury? Is that what that was?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I never had anything like it. I think it's lifting too many things at the ice rink, I think.
Well, round 1 has concluded. We'll come back on the air here in a few minutes to bring you round number 2, and we'll give you the list of those that have made it. So stick around here. We'll be back here in a few minutes for round number 2 of the 2019 Indiana Scratch Classic.